Is Meghan Markle an extraordinary woman, or just someone who happened to marry well? And is that what has the Sussex camp scrambling to try to undo the damage from Tom Bower's new book that just came out? I found this really interesting as I read Sam Kasnher's kind of groveling apology to Harry and Meghan due to what Tom Bower quoted him in his recent book about Meghan's Vanity Fair article. Basically kind of walking back what he said, but not really. But he ended it with to the effect of, Harry got to marry his soulmate, an extraordinary woman. And I'm just like, how is marrying well extraordinary? Women have been doing that throughout the century. Meghan has now cured cancer. I don't think just because she happened to be the first woman of color to marry into the British monarchy, as high up as she did. There was actually a gentleman who's kind of from original native New Zealander who married and who also had a darker skin complexion. Why is it that Meghan must make everybody think she is extraordinary? And why is her entire narrative just utterly falling apart under the weight of this Tom Bower book, which in many ways confirms so many of the stories and the anecdotes that we've heard about Meghan for the past, 4 or 5 years? And why does that have Harry and Meghan absolutely scrambling to undo the damage, and potentially, what does this mean for the future for them? So that's what we're going to talk about today here at Royal News Network. If you guys haven't been here before, hello, my name is Brittany and I talk about everything related to royals. So that's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, movies, and history. We will do it all right here. Right now, obviously, there's just a ton of Harry and Meghan because I feel like there's just a ton of news about them, especially with this Tom Bower book. So if you guys want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. And I also have a little bit of an announcement as well. Obviously, this book is not available in the States yet, but I reached out to the publisher because I would really like to interview Tom Bower, Mr. Bower, about his book. And so I did actually get a digital copy of it. This is kind of what, publicists and PR representatives do if they have someone selling a book. Journalists who are interested in interviewing them can request to interview, and oftentimes they send a digital copy of the book. So that came today, and I was so stoked when I saw that come through on my emails, and I was like, yes. So I don't have any confirmation that I actually have an interview actually confirmed or anything like that. I'm gonna follow up with them again tomorrow. So if you guys love this channel, love what I'm doing, and if you would like to have an interview, see me interview Tom Bower on here about what's in his book, go ahead and share this video as much as you can, kind of let people know as well, because the more subscribers I have, the bigger this video is, the more likely I might be able to actually secure that interview. So I got one step, but if I could just get a bit more, that would be awesome. And I think what I'll do as well, because I know so many people have been waiting for this book. I've actually done a live stream before when I was in the UK for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and I thought maybe next week, perhaps next Saturday, I can go ahead and do another one if y'all are interested. And so sometime this week I'll put up, a couple of times maybe on Saturday to try to get as many people in different time zones on the same page, which is rather hard. I've had to schedule that before, people in the UK, Canada, Australia, and the East Coast of the United States. And it was actually very hard to get everybody kind of on the same page. Somebody was getting up really early, somebody was staying up really late. So we'll try to get something that's a happy medium. So I'm really excited about that because I would like to, I've mentioned this before, start a book club and focus on royal books. And I thought it would be fun to try to interview as many authors as we can and then have some sort of live stream where people can discuss the books. It's not only in the comments, I can answer questions, those sorts of things. So if you guys are interested in that, again, let me know in the comments. I've been trying to keep up with the comments on other videos, but there's been so many and I do work, so it's been a little bit hard, but trust me, I try to get to as many of them as I can. So if I missed your comment, I am so sorry. But before we get into all the chaos with the Sam Kasnher and Tom Bower and all the new revelations that we have in this book, including that, yes, Meghan did make Catherine cry, I just wanted to shout out to Prince George, who just turned 9, and Kensington Palace released this gorgeous shot of him at the beach with his family, probably up they're doing their summer vacation, and he looks just so happy. And his mother, of course, took the picture. And, you know, sometimes I was kind of like, you know, it would be nice if, you know, Catherine and William let, you know, professional photographers take some pictures of their kids. And I think they have, but I think these pictures of Catherine, they're just so much more intimate, and the kids react to her in such a more natural way than they would with kind of a scheduled, very formal photo shoot. So I think this was really, really fun. So big shout out to George. I can't believe he's 9. He's getting so old. I remember waiting for Catherine and William to walk out of the hospital, and it was just so exciting when they did. But I was like, I really wanted Alexander to be his name. It is in his name, but I wish it was his first name. But he was George, kind of named after the Queen's father. So I thought that was lovely. But guys, like I said, Harry and Meghan, the Tom Bower, Sam Kasnher, all of it, it's just feels like it's been very crazy in a way. But I think Harry and Meghan are starting to very much panic, because this book has revealed, it hasn't come up with really startling revelations in many ways. I think some of the Vanity Fair stuff was kind of the most shocking. I mean, we knew she was demanding. We knew she was not the nicest person to be around and those sorts of things. So a lot of that was confirmed. So I feel like Tom Bower's book, what it's great at, it's not, you know, it's not revealing that she had a surrogate or anything like that. And I know many of you were looking for that. But I think what he's done exceptionally well is kind of highlight and go through and kind of confirm and maybe add some more details around stories that were already floating around in the media. And it goes to show that these stories are true, because I think Harry and Meghan's camp has been very much just like, oh, these are outliers, you know, just listen to Omid Scobie. Everything else is fake, you know. Omid Scobie is right though. But as time has gone on, it has become very, very evident that there is obviously some real truth behind that. Meghan is a highly demanding and difficult woman to be around. And basically, nobody really likes her. Like, really, nobody likes her. Her in-laws didn't like her from her first marriage. You know, her boyfriend, Corey, his parents didn't like her. A lot of people just generally don't like her. And I think it goes to the fact that she just dismisses people that she just finds irrelevant, and she has her own agenda constantly and just doesn't care about anybody else really. So imagine being Harry, isn't that fun? So Harry gave her the platform that she has, but it was kind of interesting because, you know, Tom is exposing all of this in his book, stories that we've heard before, adding more information and letting us know that yes, these stories are true. He's bringing in more receipts to the situation. So it's not something the Sussex fans can just brush off anymore. There is enough there that you can't deny that there's a fair level of truth behind the fact that Meghan Markle is a bully. So, and here's the thing. Meghan and her Sussex squad and the aggressiveness of Sunshine Sachs probably resulted in this interesting retraction from Sam Kasnher. So Sam Kasnher did the Vanity Fair interview with Meghan, and I did a whole video on that because I was honestly a little disturbed by what he was talking about. It made me feel slimy because he was talking about how she was being basically kind of trying to seduce him, making him uncomfortable, and that he was she sat down and he described to Sam Bower in a sexy manner and said, oh, I like your stammer. And just basically trying to get the best out of him and out of this interview because she wanted this to be her grand coming out, because she wanted to be across the world as this amazing philanthropist and, activist that everybody wanted to meet and interact with, which in fact, none of that was true. Vanity Fair even tried to confirm her P&G story and it wasn't true. Harry and Meghan can't let what Sam Kasnher said about her stand. So I think due to industry pressure as well from like Vanity Fair, some of these places who do kind of want to keep a good connection with Harry and Meghan, and due to the very, very, very aggressive tactics of Sunshine Sachs, has issued really this groveling apology that makes pretty much no sense in a way, and also tells you that what he said was true, but he's kind of being forced to apologize. If you a very loose interpretation, you can read that between the lines. So this is what he said. I'm afraid Tom Bower didn't convey my admiration and respect for Meghan Markle in the excerpt from his new book in the Times on Saturday. Writer felt manipulated by Meghan Markle is the title. I found Ms. Markle to be an exceptionally warm and gracious and admired her intelligence and her remarkable courage, as I still do. I regretted the oft-published account of challenging Procter & Gamble being edited out of my Vanity Fair article because I wanted to highlight her lifelong activism. The piece itself was quite laudatory. One more thing, I do not have a stutter. I may hem and haw a bit, but a stammer is not a stutter. That's splitting hairs right there. That is really splitting hairs. And as far as I know, Ms. Markle never said she liked me because of it. Exclamation point. I missed that before. Exclamation point. Okay, generally in journalism, you never ever use an exclamation point. You know, you do it in personal emails, but you never ever use an exclamation point in normal writing, pretty much. Never, ever, ever, unless it's like a blog post or something, maybe. Generally, never ever use it. A belated congratulations to Prince Harry for taking such an extraordinary woman as his bride. Theirs is clearly a love match, so maybe we should stop piling on and let the couple live their life in peace. I mean, I call foul on that so much because A, looking at Harry at the UN, part of selling this love narrative is actually Harry looking happy. He does not look happy. Like anybody in the world can see he is not happy. So how is theirs a match made of heaven and this huge love match and that they're magically in love and that they're so close and personable and everything, and yet he looks utterly dejected and miserable. It does not work. But when you read that, it comes across as ridiculous, not only because of the exclamation point, which is probably a bit personal pet peeve right there, but because it's so over that it doesn't ring as true. And this is the problem with Harry and Meghan's whole agenda. They overdo it so much that it rings as false. You shouldn't have to tell us 10,000 times how exceptional, how intelligent, how wonderful Meghan is, when Tom Bower, with receipts, has a whole book lining out. And we've seen this in a lot of the excerpts, and I got a lot of some people were highlighting things and pulling them out. So I'll kind of go over some of those that I found interesting as well. But because I haven't had a chance to read it yet, because I just got it today and I do work. So I'm going to work on reading the book next week because I haven't had a chance yet. What surprised me is that over and over again, people were mentioning that Meghan was making these suggestions and they were bad constantly. What that tells me is Meghan's not as smart as she thinks she is. And most people realize pretty quickly she's not as smart as she thinks she is. And so they kind of dismiss her in a way. And I think that is, that's a huge part of their narrative that Harry and Meghan have created, that Meghan is a super intelligent woman. I mean, even Lady Colin Campbell mentioned that multiple times in her book, that Meghan is very, very intelligent. I don't think she is, though. And I think that has been on full display in the Tom Bower book. Is that, she was telling Vanity Fair how to publicize her own magazine. And they're just looking at her going, no, that's not what we do. I mean, they didn't tell her that because apparently nobody can tell this woman no. That's the other thing I found is like, everybody just was like, yeah, whatever. Even when she was like small fry, they bent over backwards to please her. And I'm like, this woman would have really, really, it's one of the best things you can do is like take editing and feedback sometimes. Not all the time. You have to kind of evaluate it and say, push some things to, yes, I'm going to follow that, or no, I'm not going to follow that. But nobody ever told this woman no. And so I think that huge inflated ego from even like simple things being just told, yeah, we'll accommodate you, whatever. Just her inflated ego was utterly out of control. And the publicist, at Vogue didn't tell her no, but dismissed her. When they had meetings about what was, some of the topics she was suggesting, they dismissed most of them because they weren't good. So I think Meghan's huge problem is that she's created this facade that she can't back up. And that's coming out more and more. It's kind of like her acting thing as well. Them always saying that she's a great actress. And I'm like, but she was on Suits. Like, I follow Hollywood pretty closely. I mean, I did, especially when I was younger. So I have a pretty good idea of what makes an actor pretty successful. And yes, she had a recurring role, but she was not a star. She was not first on the call sheet. And I've seen some of her acting and it's really, really, really bad. One of the movies, I can't remember now what it's called. I'll have to look it up. And if I remember, it was just like the most, I saw the bits of her and her acting was so terrible. It was awful. And there's nothing wrong with that, but she's created this facade, this thing about her that she's this huge activist, feminist, you know, all these sorts of things that fundamentally are not true. And if their brand is built on Meghan having these characteristics that she never had, then it's all gonna fall apart. Because Meghan is one carefully crafted facade, in my opinion. You see her, and I may do a whole video, you know, labeled this, it's her duchessing. Like, she has like this trying to do serene smile. When everybody looks absolutely miserable, she has this smile on her face. And I look at that and I go, okay, I know that image you're trying to project isn't real. Because what we like about royals is that they're not actors. Ergo, their emotions on their face usually are real. And yes, they overreact sometimes because that's kind of the social convention and expectation. But Meghan always just looked off, and it was especially apparent at their recent visit at the UN, where Meghan was all smiles, and she has this very particular pose when she's, you know, trying to be all supportive of her husband, and, you know, it's her duchessing pose is what I consider. And she does all this, and it's because she has no real depth, she has to fake everything. And that's very, very apparent in the Tom Bower book. And she's just frankly sounds like a very, very kind of mean woman. And I'm not saying that facetiously and not without evidence. Like, there's a whole laundry list, it seems like, in that book of things, most of the things that we have heard before, where she just sounds utterly difficult to work with. You know, somebody in a comment once asked me if I would work for Meghan and Harry, and I said, well, only maybe if they paid me $1 million, but I don't know anymore, because reading some of those things, it would drive me bonkers, especially dealing with somebody who really has no idea what they're talking about, yet insists on telling you what to do. There's nothing else that annoys me more than somebody who has no experience, no acumen in an area at all, saying, well, I want it done this way, or I think I know best, when they really, really don't. So again, I don't think Meghan is this exceptional woman that she's tried to portray herself and tried to drag Kasnher into saying about her. And continuing that narrative, I mean, even his statement does her no favors. Tom Bower did come out and say that he had talked to Kasnher about it, read him the sections, and that Kasnher approved. And if Tom Bower is any good journalist, and apparently he is actually a lawyer, he's not stupid enough to quote Kasnher directly if that's not what Kasnher said. Kasnher had to walk it back because the pressure is so great from the woke mob that he had to placate the mob, because, you know, Meghan has to be the best at everything. Even when she's not. She has to be seen as this extraordinary woman. Well, all she's done is marry a rich, dim man. Pretty much everybody at this point, I mean, Harry's an international laughingstock. He really is. And this book confirms it, that even his friends, when he first started dating Meghan, thought he was out of his mind. And pretty much everybody anymore thinks Harry is out of his mind. So he has no real respect from anyone. This narrative that somehow, you know, they're an extraordinary couple, Meghan's this exceptional woman. I mean, that's what they're saying, is that she's done something extraordinary. But there's no evidence that she's done anything that's extraordinary. There's none. So, but she has, you know, bullied a little girl with the help of her friend. She has, you know, made outrageous demands. She has an obsession with Dior, apparently, including a hideous pair of Bermuda shorts, which she wore for, I have no clue why, with heels and a I mean, again, same look you could get from Ann Taylor for $100 is that look Meghan Markle wore when Mimi and Gloria Steinem. But let me read you a couple of the additional excerpts that I've seen other people pull out. So again, I haven't read the book, I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm gonna read you guys some of the excerpts I found were really interesting, and let you guys kind of debate and see, do you think Meghan Markle is exceptional, or is she just a fraud, a phony, a manipulator, a liar, etc., etc., etc.? Let me read you a couple of what we found. So, Harry had introduced Meghan to Diana's two sisters, Jane and Sarah, and her best friend, Julia Samuel. Harry assumed that Diana's family and friends would see a similarity between Diana and his fiancée. Both, he said, shared the same problems. He was disappointed. No one agreed that his vulnerable mother had anything in common with his girlfriend. More discomforting to him, they thought Meghan would not fit with the royal family. So, and Harry and Meghan have really attached to Harry's aunts, and you know, I kind of get it. He is close to the Spencer side of the family, but that they all saw warning signs too shows, and I believe William tried to even get Charles Spencer to intervene as well. So this was, again, a huge issue for a lot of them, going, we don't think this is good. Portraying Meghan as an unselfish woman living modestly, another friend described Meghan as lonely, frustrated, and denied any staff at Nottingham College. Nevertheless, she provided hand warmers for police guarding palace gates, painted her nails while sitting next to a heater, and was happy to rustle up a 5-star meal out of the garbage in your refrigerator. And there was another quote that came out down somewhere, and hopefully I'll be able to find it because I had a lot of screenshots that I took, that basically she also wondered why in the world nobody was fixing her dinner. Like when she, you know, she officially moved in, she wondered why there weren't staff there to basically meet her every single need. Reflecting with her staff in Kensington Palace on her popularity, Meghan credited her success with being uniquely special, an attitude reinforced by Harry. Diana's stardust, Harry suggested, was falling onto Meghan. None of Meghan's staff volunteered that only being a member of the royal family was Meghan special. Less than 1 month after the engagement was announced, one of her staff members asked herself, "She'll be famous, but will she be a royal?" So I've described this in videos before, that kind of, if you are a member of the royal family, basically the crown is the star. So think of our solar system. The crown is the sun, and basically every royal revolves around that, but increasing distances. So the queen is closest, and you know, her cousins are, you know, basically out of the galaxy. So the closer you are to the crown, the bigger star you will be. And Harry and Meghan, you know, they started out kind of close because obviously the Cambridges do have 3 children, but they're not working royals yet. So I think Harry and Meghan can kind of be closer in the solar system. But the only shine they got was from the crown itself. Meghan herself and Harry himself are not stars. What makes them stars is that they have a connection to the monarchy. That is it. And as they've left that crown, their deficiencies are becoming increasingly evident to everyone. The joy continued for 200 guests at their wedding, greeted by Charles at the evening dinner in a glass marquee in the grounds of Frogmore House. Uninvited were Camilla's 2 children, Tom and Laura Parker Bowles, and several of Harry's oldest friends, including Tonnet Inskip. Meghan has changed Harry too much, Inskip later said. Shocked that he had been dumped, we've lost him. Harry had switched his allegiances to the Hollywood set. Included at the dinner were Oprah Winfrey, Idris Elba, James Gordon, and most notably George Clooney. Harry and Meghan's wedding was all a giant networking opportunity for Meghan. That's all it was. Because she, regardless of how powerful and how important the monarchy was and how unique it was, she is a desperate wannabe Hollywood superstar who could never, ever, ever do it on her own. So she used this opportunity to try to push herself ahead. Meghan's arrival on the set at 7:10 was anticipated. The princess is coming, snickered one assistant. So we heard part of this in the excerpts from the Tom Bower, kind of the Times releases, but here's some more. Hard-faced, Meghan entered the restaurant, avoiding eye contact with the crew. Her agent had demanded that only the designated few on the set were authorized to speak to her. That order had been passed among the 58 members of the Canadian production team. With a forced smile, she disappeared upstairs to her dressing room. The whispers across the production team was equally poisonous. She's fake sweet. So we've heard this a lot of times that, and you know, this is what Meghan strikes me about Meghan too, is that she's fake sweet. So yes, she'll talk nice to you, but it's only if she wants something or she feels like she needs something from you. Other than that, she's utterly dismissive of your existence. So we have know more now about Marcus Anderson. Knowing the importance Meghan attached to celebrities, Anderson introduced her to Princess Eugenie, the daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. Like her parents, Eugenie appreciated freebies and hobnobbing with the rich and famous. After the meeting, Meghan considered calling the princess during her next visit to London. Eugenie was the type who could help her. So this goes to, you know, many people have commented about the connection between Meghan and the Yorks. This kind of confirms that Marcus Anderson made that connection. And, you know, obviously the Yorks, or at least definitely Eugenie, still seem kind of sort of close to Harry and Meghan, but I just don't know how you could be, because Meghan strikes me as just an incredibly fake person. Like, how could you be friends with somebody like that? I don't know. Nelthorpe Crown interrupted. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know anything about him? Meghan replied, I've Googled Harry. I've gone deeply into his life. Nelthorpe Crown was left in no doubt that Meghan had carefully researched every aspect of Harry in his past life. She understood precisely the man she was meeting. Needy, volatile, unhappy, and seeking a soulmate. I understood where she was coming from. Her dream of bagging a prince was even written on one of her old blogs. And that was, of course, Catherine and William's wedding. We knew that Meghan had mentioned that on her blog before, so it makes sense that, again, she would still be obsessed with Catherine and William and upset that she could not surpass them, because she couldn't. Because here's the thing, the crown always wins. Whoever is the monarch or the future monarch, they will always win. They will always come out on top. And this is pretty much true throughout history. The crown always wins, always. You can't supersede it. Thomas Markle had noticed a change in his daughter. Ever since he had contributed to Meghan's wedding, he had been short of money. Meghan had offset his problems by part financing the purchase of a new car. The rest was paid by a loan and helped him move home. His latest written request provoked a phone call from Toronto. I've checked with Andrew, said Meghan, referring to her business manager, and I've given you $20,000 over the last 2 years. I'm shocked you're keeping such a close track of the money, sputtered Thomas, reeling that she knew to the last dime how much she had given him, compared to the £500,000 he had spent on her education, which is about, I mean, right now it's probably closer to like 600,000, 650,000 pounds, but in the day, that was, especially at the time Meghan was in school, that was close to £1 million. Sorry, $1 million, I should say. Since she had just given birth to Louis, Kate was too fatigued to cope with a disagreement about whether the bridesmaids should wear tights. Following protocol, Kate believed they should. The Californian was uninterested in royal tradition. Her insistence was supported by Jessica Mulroney, present as an advisor and the mother of another bridesmaid, Ivy. Some would say that Meghan compared Ivy favorably against Charlotte. Others were surprised by Meghan's close attachment to Mulroney. So these allegations go back to kind of back up, especially his little line here. Some would say that implies to me that yes, there was a deeper interaction rather than the pantyhose. There was something even ruder going on, something nastier going on basically behind the scenes. And some of it that we see in here, and he'll go into more detail. I've heard about the bridesmaids thing, that it was, yes, the pantyhose was obviously a huge thing, but it also went to something about, you know, Charlotte being fidgety during the fitting in some way. I mean, she's a little girl. I think maybe she was younger than Ivy. So, you know, and she's just had a new brother enter her life. And so that's a bit stressful, and family dynamics are changing. And just like any child, that takes a bit of an adjustment, that she's no longer the baby. And then it's gotten to, and I wonder if this really is the case based on what he says next, is that Charlotte, basically they were saying that Charlotte was fat. That is the rumor. I'm not saying any of that is true, but that is the rumor. The disagreement was followed by an argument about the length of Charlotte's hem. Kate thought it was too short and anyway did not fit. Melissa Tubati, Meghan's assistant, and the dress fitters employed by Givenchy's Claire Wright Keller witnessed Meghan emphatically reject Kate's observation. Compromise was not a trait Meghan embraced. The standoffs, Kate decided, confirmed the complaints by Tubati and other members of staff about Meghan. Kate burst into tears. Christy Alsop, a friend of Camilla, would later confirm that Kate was reduced to tears by Meghan's bullying of staff. And so it's very evident that yes, Charlotte's dress, the hem was very, very uneven. If you compare her dress at Meghan's wedding to the one with Eugenie a couple of months later, her dress is a mess. It looks like half done, that it wasn't done well. And it was probably, again, goes to Meghan was so exact and demanding that nobody could ever meet her expectations, and ergo it took way too long to, you know, that they could never get it right. And so unfortunately it sounds like Charlotte was made to feel bad about something and that it came to blows. And you noticed as well at the wedding that Catherine and William held the hands of their children and kept them back from Harry and Meghan. And so I think there was a deliberate attempt by them to shield their kids from Meghan. So part of the reason why the Cambridges and the Sussexes don't interact is just simply to protect their children. I think they are, Meghan, they're just worried about her, worried by what she might say, because she just is kind of a loose cannon. And the last thing I'll add is I couldn't find it in the excerpt, so maybe I forgot to save it, but it also sounded like, again, we've heard this story before, that Catherine went over to try to apologize to Meghan just because, emotions were a bit high. Catherine was postpartum, and she's an adult instead of kind of being a whiny child. So Catherine was like, maybe it was a little bit me too. And so let's apologize. Let's put this behind us. And Meghan threw her flowers in the trash. So it sounds like, yes, again, that is what happened. And that's how it ended. Then in another section, it goes into Meghan's relationships with some of her Suits co-stars, which is not as close as we were been led to believe by Meghan, and of course some of her Suits stars. But again, Meghan's circle is all about people patting each other's backs. So they would all keep a close relationship on Meghan because they were hoping that it would benefit them financially in some way. By then, Meghan's relationship with some Suits actors was troubled. An argument had erupted over Sarah Rafferty. Meghan had asked Lori Sale, her merchandising agent, to consider representing Rafferty, a redhead older than her, for commercial endorsement contracts. Rafferty, I think, is quite beautiful, so I think she would have done very, very well. And Meghan was perhaps quite intimidated by that. The two met and Sale was enthusiastic. Hearing the news, Meghan called and accused Sale of a conflict of interest. Sale was perplexed. Not only had Meghan asked her to represent Rafferty, but the two actresses were not competitors. Meghan's behavior hardly chimed with her recent plea on a television program about self-esteem to be kind to yourself and not to be so judgmental and so unkind. I wouldn't treat my best friend that way. Sale was the latest to discover the nature of Meghan's sincerity. She was two characters, one concealed and one fictional, with a baffling tendency to switch from idolizing to belittling a friend. This section, I think, is the most critical. Even beyond the bridesmaids fiasco, even beyond everything she did to her father and her family and Harry's family and his friends and everything, this to me is incredibly telling. Meghan has two faces, and I understand why people who find themselves, Sussex stans and Sussex supporters, I kind of feel sorry for them in a way, because they believe the facade. They cannot imagine that she is fake, and that some of her kindness, some of her attitude is just a fraudulent and manipulation to get you to like her. And I feel sorry for those people, because what happens in real life when somebody does this to you? Do you always fall for it? I kind of bet you do. Because if you can't see that Meghan is a fake now, then you will never, ever be able to, see if your own friends, family, partner is doing the same. And what I think, again, is especially telling about this is that, Harry fell for the facade. He fell for the beautiful woman who was charitable and gracious and all these sorts of things. And some of the royal family saw right through the facade. That's the thing. If you were fake, genuine people and people who are not like desperate, kind of like Harry was, see right through you. And I think most people see right through Meghan, because Meghan's not a good actress. So I don't think she's really, really that good at faking it. I don't think she is. So she has been able to get by on this fakery, on this trickery about who she really is. And I think most of the royal family and most people are starting to see that, yes, it's just a facade. There's nothing there. And to a certain extent, all celebrities do this to an extent. They do put on somewhat, maybe of a bit of a false face, something like that, when they have to interact, and do interviews and those sorts of things. But those who are genuine, like Keanu Reeves, he strikes everybody as genuine. And this fakery, this trickery, it always comes out at some point, because you can't fake it all the time. And clearly Meghan could not. And if you treat people below you poorly, that will just continue to come out again and again and again. So guys, I think this is just incredibly telling about who Meghan is. And so given all this, these are just a couple of small excerpts. Is Meghan an extraordinary woman? No. So honestly, I don't believe what Sam Kasnher is trying to sell. And I don't think a lot of other people will either in his apology, because it just doesn't ring true. There's nothing exceptional about her, except for the fact that she was able to ruthlessly climb the social ladder and basically then drop anyone who she no longer liked. And, you know, people who probably had bad interactions with her did come to the wedding. But you know why they came? Is because they were hoping in some way it would benefit them. And she had to have somebody show up, right? I mean, her and even Serena denied that they were really friends. So Serena came also because it kind of benefited her to say she went to a royal wedding. But, you know, the only person I think was super duper happy to be there was Jessica Mulroney. Everybody else looked pretty miserable. I mean, some of Meghan's closer friends looked pretty happy, but the royal family just was not that engaged, and I think the rest of the public is really quickly falling out of love with Meghan Markle. And unfortunately, nobody believes is the PR lies that they keep spinning. That's why they really have to double down and reevaluate what they're doing, because it's not working. It's not working. I don't believe it. Nobody believes it. So, but that is on Harry and Meghan. And I don't think they can backtrack, because if Meghan's a true narcissist, she can't see how things keep going so wrong. And Harry is too dim to understand, I think, how it all went wrong. Maybe it'll dawn on him at some point. But, you know, I'm sure he's still, you know, saying it's all racism. It's racism, when there's absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you were able to get the book. Are you excited about it? I am excited to read it, and I will keep trying to get an interview with Mr. Bauer. I think that would be really awesome to do. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to get that together. And so yes, please like and share this video as much as you can. Give it a thumbs up. Sorry, I said like. Give it a thumbs up. Hopefully I can make a request once again and perhaps secure it, especially if you all are really excited about it. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.